I never thought about taking art as a career until later. It was always something that I just did, you know, and I like that, you know, and even to this day, drawing gives me my sense of self. As an artist, we're always working on a craft, whether you have a show coming up or not. You're always doing something that's
trying to level up.
Yeah, you're always doing it. With acting, it's like you're waiting for your next job.
You think it's a cutthroat environment?
Yeah, definitely. I think sadly, creative spaces usually are. When I was 15, I got the part in Twilight, which kind of changed my trajectory of like how everything was going to go for the next, you know, till now. Even you saying like, oh, make it to the top, like I don't feel like I have it all.
Hey everybody, welcome back to The Blueprint. Today I'm here with Booboo Stewart. Booboo Stewart is famous for a bunch of movies, Twilight, X-Men, but he's also an artist, and that's where I came in contact with him. So stay tuned. He's going to tell us how he got here and what you should do to do it yourself. Stay tuned. Booboo Stewart, how are you?
I am doing very good. Very, very good.
You know, it's such a unique name, Booboo Stewart. Do people call you the whole thing, or is it just the...
No, usually it's just Booboo. I have a lot of nicknames. Boo. There's people call me any rendition of that you can think of.
Boo.
Yeah.
Any B's?
Boo Squared was
Squared.
actually one for a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. How did you get the name Booboo?
So my real name is Nils, and that is also my father's name.
Okay.
And my family didn't want me to be called Junior all the time growing up. And so I guess when I was younger, I used to suck two of my fingers. And they always said I had a boo-boo face. And so it's really a name that I've just had since I was a baby.
That's cool.
And my whole family would call me Boo-Boo. Everyone just called me Boo-Boo. Yeah.
And so you thought, I'm going to take this into the rest of the world.
Yeah, I was like, oh, here we go.
You know, the funny thing is, like, a lot of times people will say, you know, I'm past that name, or I've grown outside of that. I've got to be professional now as I get through this. That's a childhood name. I'm going to, you know, I'm now Richard, you know, or whatever as it goes into things. But
Mr. Boo-Boo.
Yeah, Mr. Boo-Boo. Boo-Boo Senior, baby.
Yeah.
But you decided to hold on to that. What was the significance of holding on? Was that like a tribute to somebody, or was that like...
Yeah, you know, when I would say in my later teens, early 20s, I was like I had a lot of thoughts of thinking that I'm going to do away with the name. I was a bit embarrassed to be called Boo-Boo. You know, like, of course. Especially like castings for like movies or TV things. You're all sitting in a room and then they call you up next to like, Boo-Boo. And I'm like, that's me. Like I try to stand up, I'm next before they could say my name.
Yeah.
And one of my best friends, he is a brother to me. One time we're sitting there and I don't know why it came up in conversation, but he was like, I actually think it's really cool that you go by the name Boo-Boo. It like gives you a certain strength that you can be like, my name's Boo-Boo. And that really, I've never forgotten that moment. And ever since then, I've been like full-fledged, just like, yeah, this is it. You know, it's unique. It's me. It's my name.
Yeah. I had a similar thing when I was a kid, like, you know, getting into the business world. Somebody called me country boy, you know, and they were making fun of my accent and telling me like, you know, just kind of belittling me like I was ignorant because of, you know, the stigma that comes with this accent, right? Yeah. Well, I worked for the next, 6 months to a year trying to get that out of there. And then I thought, it just hit me one day. I was like, you know, my grandfather gave me this. My parents gave me this. You know, my family handed me this nickname. This is where I'm from.
Yeah.
And so from that point, I just threw that away. And I was like, this is, you know, be proud of where you come from. Be proud of who you are. You know,
yes. There's a reason why you have that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's cool, man. I'm really proud of you for sticking to that. You know, a lot of people would
would have like
run from it.
No. I don't want to be called that. You know, and I love my real name too. I think it's a great name. It's a strong name. But when people say it, I think of my dad. You know, I don't really think of myself.
Yeah. So when you had this since a kid, you went to school and you grew up in California, I think, is that right?
Yeah, I'm from LA.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I was in school, they called me by my real name just because the teachers wouldn't call you a nickname, you know? But outside of that, it was always Booboo.
Okay. And you grew up in LA. Were your parents in the movie business or what were they?
So my dad is an actor and a stunt coordinator. So I grew up my whole life. I mean, I would miss school. I would skip school to go on set and hang out with him. all night, spending all nights on set. And then my mom, when I was younger, had an arts and crafts business where she would make handcrafted like glassware and stuff like that. And we would travel around to different arts and craft shows and sell her art. And so during those times, when I'd be on set with my dad, I always drew all the time.
Yeah.
Like people would be like, you can't have this little kid on set all day. He was like, no, he's fine. Just put him in the chair and give him a pen and a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And I just draw. And then doing the arts and craft shows with my mom, my whole family would go. But doing those shows with my mom, we would, there would be all these artists there. And I would always have like clay. I'd be molding clay. And was just always inspired by different sculptures and things like that.
So you just thought maybe I'm going to get into this later on as I grow up. But for right now,
Yeah, I never thought about taking art as a career until later. It was always something that I just did, and I like that, and even to this day, drawing gives me my sense of self.
So you wanted to follow your dad's path of going into the movies? Is that or the original story behind this? Was like, I'm going to these things all the time. I fall in love with this. Like, this is my path.
Yeah, I watched... I was always intrigued by it. I always loved being on set. Just, I would always ask, can I come to set with you? Can I come to set with you? I just loved, like being on a movie set or TV show set is so much fun. It's like a little circus, a family traveling circus together. And then I started taking it very seriously after as funny as it is, but I saw The Dark Knight, Heath Ledger playing the Joker. And I was just floored. I was 15 years old and I was floored. I was watching and I was like, wow, that's what I want to do. And that became my obsession, and movies just became my obsession.
When your dad invited you on a set with him, what was it like there? You were, sit in the back, don't say anything, or stand up here with me, or? I
was always right there.
Okay.
Yeah, always right up there with him. I'd be next to the camera guys. I have a very vivid memory of, I had a little camcorder and the camera guy was like, come here, come stand next to me.
Yeah.
And he's like, you're going to do this. He's like, you can go from here to here, and that's called panning. That's and cool. I just remember that core memory.
Yeah. So at the beginning, did you know that what part did you want? You always knew you wanted to be in front of the camera, or at some point you thought you wanted to be behind it?
I feel like I always knew I wanted to be in front of the camera.
Okay.
But as time goes on, there's definitely a place where I can see myself manning the ship behind camera.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's some cool technical things that go on with it. And you can help tell a story just by the framing you pick and the lens you pick and everything. I mean,
it's what we do as artists.
Yeah.
We tell a story through different mediums. That's just a different medium of art,
So early on, you told your dad, you're like, hey, look, this is what I want to do. I want to get into this. Is there any way you can help me? Or did you say, I need to get into some classes. I need to take something in school. Like, how did you get started in this?
Yeah, I was very fortunate, very lucky that he already had a lot of connections. So that helped me get into it. It helped me get an agent. He also manages me still. So that paved the way for me to be able to do what I've been able to do. But yeah, there definitely was a moment. I think after I saw that movie, I was just so blown away. I think my parents probably saw my own obsession growing pretty heavily and knew that like, okay, this is what he should be doing. So it was an unspoken thing. It wasn't, there wasn't like one conversation where I was like, this is what I want to do now. It just became like my life, So
there's no formal training behind it? You just...
No.
Really?
No, my dad taught me, he had helped me with my auditions. I learned from watching interviews of actors, my favorite ones, them talking about how they would do it, their process and what they do. I would just make mental notes of all of that. And watching movies and watch people the best at the craft, learning from that. Later in life, I did put myself in some acting classes because I was just feeling like it's a weird thing as an actor. As an artist, we're always working on a craft.
Yeah.
Whether you have a show coming up or not, you're always doing something that's
trying to level up.
Yeah, you're always doing it. With acting, it's like you're waiting for your next job. Unless you're writing a script and trying to make it happen yourself. You're waiting for an audition. So then when you get the call for an audition, I had felt at a certain time in my early 20s that I would go into auditions and I was so nervous. Like so nervous I couldn't even move my neck. Like, it was like stiff neck. So I was like, I need to be acting outside of just an audition or if I get a job. Because I feel like I don't know what's going on. I'm getting in my head. So I did put myself in some classes for a bit. But I've mainly learned from just doing and working with, luckily being able to work with people that I really like and people that have given me great tips and, calling people and just being like, how do I do this, that, and this? And them just giving me great tips and keeping notes, writing things down.
So I'm thinking about like, everyone who's not you, everyone who didn't have a father, because really the blueprint is about telling a story of how you're able to make it from 0 to 100, right?
Right.
And there's going to be pits and falls along the way that just cause you to be, either fail or succeed, right? And so you had someone in your corner that could teach you how to do this and how to work through that, right? And then you'd made enough success that you're like, I'm going to put myself back in school to kind of help me get a little bit better even. For someone who doesn't have that, what are some good things that they could do that you see there's value in? Should they get in like their local theater? Should they?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
100%. I think that's something when people ask me that, I'm like, just join like an acting school, join local theater, join anything to where you can build a community. You can get in the community, I should say, that's already built.
Yeah.
Because it really is like, it's the same thing with anything you do. It's like doing it alone is one thing, but you want to meet people. You should meet people. You will learn from them. You will grow together. And I think that is, you might meet somebody who's like, I'm going to LA.
Yeah.
Like, you want to come? Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's so many I've heard that so many times, So I definitely think joining a local theater, joining some classes, doing all of that is extremely important because you never know who you're going to meet and what that's going to lead you to.
Right. So surround yourself with a circle of people who are in the same avenue as what you're at.
Yeah.
It's all about the connections that you have and 100%. Who can get you where.
I find that even more with art,
Oh, yeah.
My gosh. That's how I ended up here. It's because of going to a gallery that my friend was showing at, meeting the person who was running the gallery, him introduced me to somebody else, then that person, Randall, who hooked me up here.
Yeah.
So you just have to get yourself in the scene. You gotta go for it. You gotta be in it and, just surround yourself with it essentially.
Yeah. It's so funny too, because you hear a lot of people, I've never even been in the acting side of it at all, but I've heard a lot of stories of people say, man, I'm just going to Hollywood. Like I'm moving. Like the preparation that goes into that before you get there, just like I'm going to go and I'm going to figure it out. Like that's how a lot of failed dreams happen. Like there's a lot of preparation that comes beforehand, correct? Yeah.
I would say just getting up and going to Hollywood without any kind of connections might work, and it has worked, but also it's a big place. It's a really, really big place with a lot of people trying to do the same thing, so having things under your belt before you get there and maybe having like, even if it's like a few people down the line, a connection that you might know through this person. Okay, when I get there, I can say hey to him and he can show me around, would be a good idea, I think. And I don't know if it's 100% necessary because people do just go and things work out, but I don't think it hurts going there with a little under your belt.
You think it's a cutthroat environment? Yeah. Okay.
Definitely. I think sadly, creative spaces usually are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's this weird double-edged sword where you're trying to create, but you're also like put in positions where you're like, this is a business. So it's this weird balance of that. But if you love it, you love it. Yeah. And that comes with the territory,
I'm sure you've seen a lot of people fall by the wayside too, getting taken advantage of or not knowing decisions to make or whatever, Totally. It's a sharp business.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's a business, at the end of the day. Yeah. But it's so fulfilling and it's so much fun. It's so rewarding. Yeah. I love it. I love movies. I love watching movies. I think it has to start with that.
The cool thing about this too is like I see a lot of people that come from your industry that don't necessarily have this positive attitude like you've got. Like they feel a little jaded or whatever. And maybe that's due to the success that you have or that have had, right? And you can keep this, but man, you have a really cool positive outlook on a lot of things that it's not just spewing out that, man, I'm blah, 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 or this happened to me or whatever, right?
No. And it's not like everything has been peaches and cream, like since I just started acting, Right. I go through like, I'll do a year. I'm like, where I'm literally, what's going on? I haven't picked a job,
Yeah.
It's, which people don't see, because you just put out the positive things. But everyone goes through that. And I think the way I've come to terms with that is I have realized in talking to artists of all kinds that have reached much higher heights than me in that, world, or if you want to put it that way. And you still find the same problems.
Yeah, right.
It doesn't really, it just is the same things on a bigger scale.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You might have less worries in some parts of your life, but you're still like dealing with the same issues.
Yeah.
And I've seen that recently with some people that I admire, and I didn't know that. And so recently I've been like, wow, the bar is always moving. Expectations are brutal.
Yeah.
You just have to keep doing your thing.
Yeah. It's so funny because I listen to a lot of music as I paint and things like that. Right. It's always like music is on all the time, and I love listening to almost every genre. Right. If I'm listening to some classical music, I probably am the serial killer. So that won't be on. But everything else is probably there. Right. I love a good eclectic mix. But music plays a big role in my life. Right. I don't play any instruments. I don't do anything, but there's people out there that do. And I see these people that live success in their life. Think of people like Andre 3000, who have meant so much to the world in, so many public, scenes from the music and the culture to, kind of the messaging that he's kind of brought across for a lot of things.
Right.
But I hear him later on in life say he doesn't want to put out more music because he questions if he can do it again.
Right.
At that level.
The authenticity of it.
Right.
Yeah.
I think about that. Like if someone as great as Andre 3000 can have imposter syndrome.
Right. Yeah. That's what I mean.
How do you and I get through this every day of like, dude, you had a big role. It was great. How do you get past the what's next? Or am I really that? Or whatever. Right. The self-doubt.
That's hard. Because definitely a lot of self-doubt weaves its way in and out of the minds for everybody.
Yeah.
But I think also realizing that it's a shared experience. I think it's such a great thing that he says that publicly.
Yeah.
Because it allows us to be like, oh shoot, he has self-doubt.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We're in this together. All right. It's only, that's like the curse of like social media. I love it, but it's the curse of it is you only get to see the grand parts of people's lives and the highlights, the highlight reel essentially. So when someone comes out and says something like that, you're like, oh, okay. Yeah. He's just a person.
Yeah, right.
All right, cool.
Don't you think more people attached to something like that?
Yeah, because it's real.
Yeah.
And then when he releases something, you're like, oh, I know that he actually cares about this and it means something. He's not just putting stuff out because he knows he has to like keep his numbers up and whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. I really feel like I keep waiting for the next thing for people because I look for inspiration in certain things that people have done, right? Your heart and your passion, when it's truly put out there, like those are the things I want to absorb. I want to see that out of somebody, right? And so when they tell the story of the struggle, that just talks about what's going to be on the other side. So I get really excited to see that come from someone,
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people, the opposite can happen too, where you're not feeling the struggle, then you're not inspired.
True.
You know what I mean?
True, right, yeah.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
I don't think you need the struggle to be inspired. I don't think that's true all the time. But a lot of great things come from times of just feeling like, I don't know what's going on. Now, I was, like a couple months ago, I was just up and down, like mentally, which we go through, and I was just like praying to like, I don't pray to a certain thing. I just like speak it out. And I was just really talking about like my art and everything that I do. And then I was done. And then I was like, okay, I'm tired. I'm just going to watch an episode of The Last Kingdom. Because I love that show.
Yeah.
But as I was walking, I was in my studio and I was walking to my living room to go do that. I was like, what am I doing? Like, you were just talking about all the things you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you going to go sit on your couch
And do nothing.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this is fun, and I love watching the show, and I still watch it. It's great. But at the same time, I need to, like, why am I not like drawing right now? And so I was like, stop, like, sit down, put on some music, set the scene, draw. And I made a great drawing that I love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy when you feel you're at your edge or your threshold, right?
Yeah.
You say something like a prayer or, meditation or something like that, right? And you find out that it's just self-reflection. It's like telling yourself to, man, pick it up, son.
Yeah.
There's more out there. Just do it. Like,
just
you have
do
time
it.
and effort.
Yeah. I mean, there was a really good Netflix docu-series.
Mm-hmm.
It was called Abstract.
Oh, yeah.
Did you watch that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was really annoyed that they didn't do more of it.
Yes,
but
exactly.
it was really cool.
Yeah,
I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Insight, just on these artists and from all fields.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's the first episode. I don't know his name. I can't remember it. But he did a lot of. He's like a cartoonist, I believe. But he did a lot of the New York Times and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I go to the office and I draw.
Yeah.
From like 9 to 5.
Yep.
He's like, most of the stuff I do is not good.
Yeah.
Then I like come out with a few ones that are really good.
Yeah.
And I remember when I saw that when it first came out, I was like, oh, yeah, like, not even my favorite artists probably have so many pieces that are favorite bands, so many songs that never make it onto anything.
Right.
But you have to make all the things for you to find that gold,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you sit there and you're just like banging them out. You're just like, oh, this is gold. This
You're
is
in
gold.
the zone.
This is gold.
You're rolling. Yeah.
But you can't get there unless you've like put in the work and sifted through all the nonsense.
What do they call it? Out the mud?
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
There a
When
saying
it's
for that?
like when you've hit the bottom and you're trying to get, out of the mud. Let me get out of the mud. Like I gotta rise up. I gotta come out of that. And so there's a lot of growth and a lot of things that come from getting out of the mud.
Yeah. And sometimes you have to just go deeper.
Yeah.
To get out of it somehow.
Yeah. That's crazy. Well, going back to your childhood. So you wanted, your dad was helping you get into these.
Mm-hmm.
You were 15 when you first started with
I
this?
was younger.
Okay.
Because he was in it, if there was a part, he'd be like, oh, put my son in it, kind of a thing. So I had done stuff since I was a kid. I was doing like
what was the earliest?
Like 10. I mean, when my dad starred in a film called The Jesse Ventura Story, he played Jesse Ventura. It's for NBC. And I was like 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like a audience member in the ring that he like slaps hands with. I think that might have been like that definitely was the first time I was on screen and anything.
That's cool.
But probably around like 10, 12. Like when I was 12, I had gotten deep into music randomly for an audition that I wasn't even supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I got signed to a record deal with Disney and I went on tour and did all this stuff. So music was actually the first thing that kind of got the ball rolling.
Mm-hmm. You were singing?
I was singing.
Okay.
Yeah, singing and dancing in this Disney group, which was great. It was an incredible experience.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I was 15, I got the part in Twilight, which kind of changed my trajectory of like how everything was going to go for the next, till now.
Yeah.
But in between then, I was doing like bit parts and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't until 15 that I myself was like, I want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is my passion, not just because, put my son in this or like, I can do that, kind of a thing.
You're like, I'm pushing myself.
Yeah. Like now I'm like, I'm taking hold of this. Like,
that's cool.
And I think when they saw that, everything kind of changed.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so after that moment of everything changes, what was the next big thing that happened for you?
Yeah. I mean, doing Twilight that really went crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I had done a very small movie where I played a teenager with Asperger's.
Mm-hmm.
And the director of X-Men had seen that movie.
Mm.
We were premiering it in Hawaii and he was sitting next to me. And after the film, he was like crying and he leaned over and like shook my hand. He was like, that was great. And we hung out for a bit out there because I was staying for the festival and he was there on a writing trip. And then a couple months later, I got a call asking if I was available to do X-Men.
Yeah.
I was like, yes.
100%.
Yes, I don't care what I'm doing. Like, I'll do craft service.
Yeah.
And that happened. And then I got there's so many random things. Like when I did Descendants, the Disney musicals later, I met the director, Kenny Ortega, on the street.
Yeah.
Literally, I was walking down the street when I was like 16 years old.
And he was like, Booboo.
Literally.
Oh,
He like stopped me. He was like, I don't know if he knew who I was because Twilight just came out, or if he just was like, oh, you would be great in this movie that he was trying to do at the time.
Yeah.
Years went by, and he ended up bringing me in to audition for Descendants. And I ended up doing 3 movies, working with him for like 5 years, and then doing a TV show with him. So we've been working together for, wow. He's my youngest sister's godfather.
Okay.
So you do a project and someone sees you in a project, or, you're walking down the street.
Exposure.
Yeah, it's weird how things work out. Mm-hmm. It's really weird. Yeah.
Yeah. I was told one time, like, life is like water rolling down a hill. Sometimes it's going to come across a rock or an impasse, and it's going to change. And you never know where your life's going to go depending on these impasses that come up.
Yeah. I didn't know all this was going to happen.
Yeah.
I really didn't,
Yeah.
My mom would always tell me when I was really young, because I'd always draw.
Mm-hmm.
It was like my thing that I always just did. She's like, you're going to be an artist. You're going to be an artist.
Yeah.
But I never, just a kid,
Yeah.
And got into like street art, got in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
That made me not do it on the street anymore.
Yeah.
And then took it to the canvas.
That's cool.
But yeah, you never know, like you're saying.
So people would be very mad if I glossed past Twilight this fast, I'm sure. So you were 15 when this took off, or how?
When I got the part, yeah.
Oh, okay. And so by the time you got the part and the time that it aired, how long had that taken?
I think it was 16 when the first one that I was in came out. And then we did 3. So we did 3 of them. So that lasted until I was like 18, I think.
And that thing went bananas.
It went crazy. Yeah. Yeah, it was crazy. It was wild.
You got to where you couldn't walk down the street, or?
I wouldn't say that, but I mean, maybe it depends where I was. Yeah, depending where I was, for sure.
Yeah.
But just the events we'd have, the premieres, and just knowing that you're forever just in, honestly, like I would say movie history, like is some of the biggest movies as if you go like, as pop culture, history, I would say. You're just, which is cool. That's something it'll always be there. I'll be, 70 years old, be like,
let me tell you what I did when I was a kid.
You could put it on the DVD.
It'll be something new by then, but
no one will have a DVD player.
Yeah, it'll all be in our glasses or something.
In our eyes.
Yeah.
I'll be like, let me just project it for you.
But that's cool. So you just went and tried out for this. Did you have like a passion for these types of movies, or it was just a part of someone recommended?
I didn't even know what it was.
Okay.
I hadn't seen the movie. I didn't see the first one because I was out, or the second one. I didn't know what it was. I mean, I knew what it was, but I didn't know like the books. I didn't read it. And it was weird. They actually had all the auditions for my character, and I, from my music times with Disney, a fan had reached out, I think on like MySpace or something, saying like, you would be good for this character. And so we told my agent. My agent got me in for a callback. Like I'd missed the auditions, and I just went in for a callback. I think I was literally like the last person to be seen.
Wow.
And I got the part.
That's crazy.
It was wild. Yeah, I still remember like walking down like from the audition, like, and being in the waiting room. Like, yeah, I remember so clear. So
that's
vividly.
A true butterfly effect right there. Just having a fan reach out and say, you need to do this or do whatever. Right?
But I mean, I find that stuff like has been sprinkled through my life, which I've always had faith in, like even when times are very slow and I'm second guessing, like, am I going to do this anymore? I've always had faith in just things, going in the right direction and just keep moving forward, keep doing my thing, and things will work out.
Positive outlook on stuff.
Yeah. But, I'm not just sitting at home watching The Last Kingdom all the time. You got to put in the work.
So do you stay in contact with the cast still? Are you guys friends, or is this just like I'll see you at the next movie? Okay.
There's a few. I mean, the cast was so expansive.
Okay.
There's a few of us who keep in touch for sure. But it's, it's hard. You do a project and everyone has their own lives. It's not like we all have some projects and recent projects that I've done, we all have group chats. Like I was on a TV show called Good Trouble for 2 years, 1.5 years. And we all still use the group chat, and the show's been over for like a year and a half.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to find true friends like that for forever. You know?
Yeah. I've made a lot. I feel very thankful to have a really great group of friends. But yeah, it's interesting. I used to think when I was younger that, you do a movie and you'll be friends forever.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that's true, but everyone has their own lives.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Is that series completely over, Twilight?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Every, 6 months, 8 months, something comes out. They're like, they're thinking about making another one. And I'm like, well, if they do, that'd be fun. But I don't count on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then you went into the X-Men part of it.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Dream come true.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. What young boy doesn't want to be an X-Men?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that was in school when I was in elementary school. I'd run around the field with my friend Eli, and we'd pretend to be X-Men. I'd be Nightcrawler. He was my favorite all the time. Yeah. So when I got the call, I couldn't believe it. I was like, there's no way. There's no way this is gonna happen.
And so you said yes to that. You got on set. You started meeting people that you'd seen from other parts of the world. And
oh my God. Yeah. First couple nights I get there, we have a cast dinner.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting next to Ian McKellen. We're hanging out.
Yeah.
Just chatting it up. He was a fan of Twilight.
Yeah. He's like, Clearwater, what's up?
Literally. He loved those movies. And they had reserved the seat next to him so I could sit next, and we're just chilling. This is ridiculous.
That's awesome. Yeah. And so the build upon on that is the next is always, or the last thing is always the greatest thing you've done, and you got to level up? Or do you feel like, hey man, I'm just doing what I'm doing and I'm trying to be me in whatever part that I roll? Or is it, I feel like I need to be better than last time?
I think as creative people, we always want to be better than we were last time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the blessing and the curse.
Yeah.
It's that keeps you sharp.
Yeah.
I think it keeps you sharp. So I always want to improve. I always want to be better. I always want to do things that I just haven't checked off the list.
Mm-hmm.
And the list goes on and on.
Mm-hmm.
But I try not to get wrapped up in that and put my self-worth and happiness, complete happiness, I don't want that to get tangled in there.
Yeah.
Because it does and it has.
Yeah.
But it's important to have other things in life and just life.
Yeah.
Just knowing that life is great, and once you really allow I was just talking to my sister about this because she's had a lot of success recently she was on a few TV shows and big shows, and just talking about how not letting that be the end all be all.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great part of life and we love doing it. But if it all disappeared, you have to be okay.
Yeah.
That has to be okay. Not saying that that's that will be an option, because hopefully it's not.
Mm-hmm.
But if something crazy were to happen, you never know what the world's going to do.
Yeah.
You have to feel good on the inside.
Do you see it as, a lot of times people see you as a snapshot in time, right? That's the guy from blah, blah, blah. He's done it. He's made it. He's there, right? But they don't really know what it's like to be yeah, that was me forever ago. That's
right.
Not me. It
was 15 years ago.
That's a character. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As you start to think about that, what are the struggles that people go through from someone like you who has actually been to the top, for those next couple of movies? Do you think I have to have another big hit to validate who I am, or that was just a time in my life, or I'm writing this out because I really just enjoy the vibe of what it is? Because there's got to be this mental gymnastics of, I made it, I suck. I made it, I suck.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, I've definitely have thoughts of was that all because it's gone through, the peaks and valleys of me thinking oh my God, this is, whoa, we're growing. And then nothing. And then, we're growing. And then oh my God, what's going on? But yeah, people don't see that.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like a lot, we all have that, you know? And yeah, it is mental gymnastics. It is. And I think something that has saved me through those times has been the fact that I have a really great family and a really great support group as friends. My friends have really always been there for me through times and also being able to talk about those things. I feel like I don't know, it's just as guys, or I guess girls too, you know, you don't always want to talk about that. You want people to think that you're always successful, and you want people to think that you're always doing good and you're always on top, you know, in whatever capacity that is and whatever you're doing. So to be vulnerable with the people close to you and to really be able to have a safe space to be able to talk about those things, I think has been one of the biggest factors that has made me keep it all together.
Yeah.
You know, because, I mean, like even you saying like, oh, make it to the top. Like, I don't feel like I have it all.
Surely.
You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I feel like I have to a certain degree, but not even close.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, that's on the bar, like for everyone is different.
The perspective.
You know? The perspective of what you're doing is different. And I think knowing that is key. And once you, like I was saying, like, I mean, very recently, a few times this happened to people that I've met who have reached like the top of the top, and just talking to them and realizing that there's always something that you're trying to grasp. You know, there's always more that you're trying to get. I'm like, okay, there's always more that I'm trying to get. Then I have to be able to just enjoy this process now. Because if I'm not, then I'm what kind of life? I'm just like searching for stuff constantly. Like, yes, but also I have to just be able to like chill and feel satisfied.
Yeah. And that's kind of where I was going with this, is because to the person that is in their hometown working on their local play, and they get the lead role, to the person who has now moved to LA and they got their first acting gig,
right,
to Booboo Stewart, who just told me he's made it nowhere,
right,
to people that have really made it somewhere.
But then their perspective too.
Their perspective is, I ain't done nothing.
Right. So it's perspective.
So everybody at every level has this, I did good for my moment of the situation that I'm in. Right. But they always look to somebody else for, there's validation that I haven't done. It's not enough. Somebody else did more. Right. But sitting in your chair, you don't ever feel like you're the person that's made more. You always feel like you're the person that's made less.
Yes.
Isn't that the craziest? I mean, that's kind of where I'm getting at, is like, this perspective, you know, is so hard for people to get because everyone feels like they're not worthy. Everyone feels like they don't have. And I'm saying this for people who are listening and people who are aspiring to be you. And even though you've been humble enough to say that you've done nothing, honestly, like, I mean that. I mean,
I'm so proud of everything that I've done.
Surely.
But I think it's just like I was saying, it's the curse of like always wanting to, it's never ending.
Yeah.
You know, so like, I mean, I know I've done like great things and I'm very proud of it. And I'm so thankful, but you always want to do that thing. It's like, I want to do this that gets into this festival now.
Yes,
I want to do this, you know, I want to do this that opens there, you know, like there's always that, you know, but that's what keeps us driving. And it's like, oh, I auditioned for my, you know, school musical. Like I got, you know, the second lead. Next year I want to get the main lead. You know, there's always something, you know. But I think the most important thing, I guess the takeaway from me and this conversation so far is like perspective, and I would say perspective and enjoying the process in what you're doing. Like, you know, too many people just think about the outcome of what you're doing rather than like putting in the work and enjoying that.
Yeah.
Like that's so cool.
Yeah.
Like putting in the work and the time. Like for me, like when I get a script, now it's like work mode. Like you go into go mode, and like that to me is like that's where the meat is.
Yeah.
And so I think holding on to that at whatever level, you know, you find yourself, not losing that, I think is the most important thing.
Yeah. I mean, because I don't know why I've just thought about this just now. Right. I'm an old man now at some point, but in someone's perspective.
Yeah, exactly.
But man, it's like, you know, you succeed on certain levels, and just taking the moment to be happy about what you've just done, what you've accomplished, without having to look at somebody else for validation.
Right.
And not even the journey of I had to work really hard to get through there, because I say that to myself all the time. It's about the journey. It's about the journey. And I've heard people tell me that, right? And maybe that's why I repeat it.
Right.
But at this moment, I sit there and think like the accomplishment of the things you do are because of the dedication and hard work and desire you have to do it. And there is okay with peace in that.
Right.
You know? And everyone in every situation is sitting in a chair somewhere doing the exact same thing that you're doing.
Yeah.
And there may be more eyeballs, there may be more money behind it, but the validation is no more.
Right. Yes. It has to come from within. Yeah. Which is really hard to do.
Yeah.
Which is very, very hard to do, especially in a world where, you know, you see people just putting the highlights out and it makes it hard. You're like, why isn't my stuff getting that attention? You know, you start putting up this like competition.
Right.
And that's when it gets unhealthy. You know, which, you know, I don't think that you know, and to bring it back to like the different levels of people like omega success and like they still feel like that.
Yeah,
you know
100%. That's what I'm saying. You never get past it.
You never get past it. So like you should be able to just sit there alone and be like, this is great.
Because the alternative is I'm never happy.
Right. And what's that? Like that, is that even worth doing this anymore?
Exactly.
Like, if like the process isn't making you happy, then what are you doing?
Yeah,
it's
man.
like when you can't try to do this stuff if you just want to be famous. Like, to me, when people just want, gosh, I was just talking to someone the other day and that was not exactly what they said, but kind of what they said. And I was just sitting there. I was like, but it's the process. Like, that's what it's all about. You know, like whatever comes of it, comes of it.
Yeah.
It's the process of doing.
Yeah.
That's what it's about.
Yeah.
At least that's what it should be about. I try to convince myself that's what it's about.
You know, it's funny because I've gone through my whole life. I've always said I'm addicted to achievement, right? Like, check that off the box. I did it. Check that I got better. I did this. Check. And that's, to me, what has made me feel validated, right? And not that somebody else says I did it or not, but I said I did it. That's still not even it.
Right. That gets a little dangerous.
That gets dangerous, right?
Yeah, I think that gets dangerous. Yeah.
And so now I sit there. I mean, I'm telling you, this is a revelation I'm having in my own mind right now. And I'm truly thankful for this conversation because I sit there and think, be happy that my mind can go through and explore and create and think of new things that I've never thought of before. Me, the body that I live in, has never thought of that before. And I don't care if somebody else sees it and says, oh, John across the other side of the world has done that. I don't care. I don't know John. I wasn't influenced by John and whatever. We were on two separate paths and came up to the same thing. That's great.
Right.
But I explored and I created something just out of here, you know?
Yeah, that's magic.
That is magic. And to be able to live inside of that moment, that magic, the moment, you know, is way, way more cool than the accomplishment.
Right. Just rushing through it and trying to just finish it just to put it out. Like, that's not the vibe.
I'm gonna remember this one forever. I'm gonna promise you that.
Cool.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, so much. I mean, that's why, like, for me, that got reinvigorated, that feeling when I discovered art.
Yeah.
The process of doing it was just, it allowed me just to expel all the feelings and just go through the emotions and listen to the right songs, taking on the journey of like, you know, I don't know, like I've refound that in art for sure.
That's cool. So what was the first step into like, I mean, your mountaintop when you went through and did your path? Yeah. And then you were like, you know what? Movies are great, but in the interim, here's something I want to explore.
Right. Well, I was in my late teens when I got really into movies. I was watching several movies a day, studying them, listening to interviews with actors, all the behind the scenes, like really just like, I wanted to make my own, you know, naturally. Yeah. And so I quickly found out that it's very hard to find people that are as like gung ho about like, let's do it now. Right. Like, okay, you want to do it? Okay, cool. Come over. Let's do it. You know? that became hard. So I was like, what can I do alone that I can finish from start to finish? You know,
you can own.
I don't need anyone else. You know, and because I was so into movies, my two favorite directors at the time, Terry Gilliam and Michel Gondry, they started in stop motion. So I was like, stop motion. I draw. Like I used to love drawing. I hadn't done it in a while, but I was like, that was always a thing that I loved. I can do this. I like photography. I can do that. So I started doing stop motion, converted my older sister's old bedroom into a stop motion studio when I was still living at home, and did that for a while. Made a couple like funny little things, and it just kind of just took me right into painting, and I really got into street art. And so me and my buddy, we would go out and like, you know, do stuff. And one night we got caught and it just wasn't great and not a great feeling. I was like, I don't want to go to jail. You know, like I don't know if that's worth it for me at least. So I took it to the canvas. I got a studio downtown LA. And I was like, I'm going to go for it. And it was a studio where there were the whole building was artists. And they would just have partitions up. So it was like an open floor kind of a thing.
Yep.
And a lot of that time was COVID then happened. And so it ended up just being like myself and one other guy at the end of my floor who were really in there all the time. And he and we would just hang out. And he is an incredible painter. And he taught me a lot of stuff and really encouraged me. And the space encouraged me because it was a nice space. And the energy was flowing and I would just paint. Started out nothing like I do now, like completely different.
Sure.
And then that just evolved throughout time to what I do now.
When you started out, was this like still life or was this from your imagination? Like
it's always been from imagination. It was very like street vibes, like Basquiat style influenced, you know, like text and like a scratchy drawing, painting of like a race car and like, you know, like stuff like that, which I really liked. I thought it was really fun. And I still look at those pieces and I'm like, oh, these are cool. Yeah. But it took a turn for me. I was doing portrait. Then I started doing these portraits. And I just was like, this feels like a job. Like I'm not really feeling, this is too technical for what I want in art. Like as for like the process of it. Yeah. I kind of lost that process. And I was just painting for the outcome. And then I ended up getting rid of my studio. And I moved into this house when I put my studio in my house. And I just started drawing a lot. I started doing all these word pieces and these figures started coming about. And then the figures became the thing. And the process in making this really was what I loved. And this is just how it ended up looking, you know? Yeah, and I would be on set. I would bring all my big papers like on set. Yeah. So in between like setups when we're filming, I would just sit in there and draw and the crew and cast would be like, oh, that's so good. You know, they're like, I'd be like, do you think his hands should be like this or like this? You know? And yeah, just the feeling that I would get from the process of doing this is what made me really fall in love with art. And I was just like, I can do this. Like this is unique. It's me. I'm making this from my own mind.
So you started out with pens and pencils and markers, or what were you, when you said sketching, what were you using?
Oh, like when I started doing this?
Yes.
When I started doing that, it was the pen.
Ballpoint.
Yeah, it was, I actually started out with the smallest, I don't know what size it is, but the Posca marker.
Okay. Yeah.
So I started with the black, the thin one. That's because I was using a lot of crinks, because I was doing like street style stuff. I was using crinks and stuff like that, and like oil sticks and like, so naturally Posca was like in the mix, you know? And I was like, 100%. Oh, they make a really thin one. Oh, okay, I'll draw with this. You know, I like that. Yeah. And I like the way it felt. Yeah. And then I actually switched from Posca to Uniball.
Okay.
This is the 0.7. I get it at Staples.
Mm-hmm.
And because I was at Jay Howell, he's an artist. He created the Bob's Burger characters and is a fantastic muralist and does all this cool stuff. We met at a bar that we both go to. It's our watering hole, like where we both live. And one night I went to his house and we had a drawing night. And he was like, hey, you should try this Uniball. And I was like, Uniball? That's just like a desk pen, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is nice. And so that's the 0.7 became my weapon of choice. And then I recently started doing colors, a sepia and a blue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we don't have any here, but
yeah. You ever get into any felt?
No, I haven't. I haven't. You like it?
Oh, it's cool. It has a little bit of bleed to it. I mean, you can do a couple other tricks and stuff like that too. So,
right.
But the ballpoint is so like universal. I mean, you can do so many different tricks with it. You can lightly shade stuff. You can get a lot of dark lines and stuff. You got the blue and the black that you can mix in together to give, like different values as well. And so it gives a scratchy, sketchy look, but also you can do shading and stuff with it too. So
yeah, like throughout just like spending so many nights just doing it, I found out like I could use my pinky to like really control how intense it's gonna be. You know, like if I hold it at the very end, it's very light. You know, like doing all these, like just you just discover as you do it. You know, you have to just do it though.
And some of these pens too, as you're scraping really fast, the tip heats up, and then all of a sudden they'll get a clump of ink on it or something, do whatever. Yeah, I feel like you ruined my whole thing. But
my friends always ask me, because I keep all my pens, and I will use the dyeing pen. That's actually my favorite one to use. Is the dyeing pen because it allows me to build. Like yesterday when I was at home, and I've been painting again just for fun. And I picked up a pen and it was like a brand new one. And I was like, oof, this is too intense. Like I need the dyeing pen. Like I need to like take some of this off. Like this is too intense. It's like a touch and it's like, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, too heavy, too intense.
Too heavy, yeah.
Yeah, you needed the pen that had a little wisdom on it.
Exactly, yeah. Feels warm from your hand.
So then you got into the sketching, and then where did you start to evolve into sculptures?
I always felt like drawn to sculpting. That I feel like I'd be like a naturally like just understanding, have a natural understanding of like shape and how to actually make it like proportions and stuff like that. Because I always played with clay. I always loved clay. Yeah. And so I don't remember why I started. I don't remember why I did the first one. Honestly, I don't remember like how that happened. But I made it. I don't do any references for the drawings or sculptures. So I just made it with whatever I could, make, because I always like George Siegel. His plaster sculptures I always really liked. So I had an idea of what I kind of wanted it to look like plaster rappy. And I went online trying to figure out like, how could I do this? I don't know how to weld. Right. Like, I don't know actually how to do anything. Right. Like, how do I do this? Yes. And so I just found this guy who, he had a technique that he used to make his sculptures. I was like, I'm going to build my skeletons like that and then do my own thing on top of it. And I stepped back. I think it was like my ex-girlfriend. She was like, that looks like your drawing. I was like, whoa, that does look like my drawing. That's crazy. And I was like, I really like how that looks a lot. And it was big. I was like, this is cool. And so I just made another one. And throughout time, I've learned to hire the right people to weld for me. So I actually can make a good, solid sculpture. And it's an interesting process. Yeah, like no references. I mean, I made a drawing of this. And then I came here, none of this was here. Yeah. And I didn't have any rendering or anything of it except a hand drawing. And on the drawing, I drew how I would have to make it on the inside as well. The skeleton of it, like how
the engineering side of it.
Yeah, how the rebarb's going to go, how the thinner metal's going to wrap around in circles around it, how how to build every layer to where I know that it's going to not fall apart. Just from having made my smaller ones. But when I got here, I didn't realize it was going to be so big.
Mhm.
I didn't know it was such a big building.
Yeah.
And so I remember looking at Travis, who is one of the owners of the place, and
Yeah.
being like, this is going to be really big.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay. I was like, all right, it's going to be really big. Like, I was trying to draw, like, this
You're
might
gonna
touch
love
the
it.
ceiling.
Yeah.
Like, you know? And so we just got down and dirty.
What's the biggest thing you've ever created?
Oh my God. Yeah. This thing is, what's it, like 16 or 17 feet tall, but like it's 20 feet long. It's like over 80 bags of plaster.
Yeah.
We went crazy.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was just literally standing right there.
Uh-huh.
And I would look at the empty space with just the walls. They were white. And I'm looking at my drawing and everyone's just waiting for me to tell them what to do. And I'm just like, okay. And I would grab a piece of rebar and I was literally just bending it on, because at home I just bend it. Like, I'm not like a super strong guy, but if you put your body weight into it or like use your knee or pole or something, you can shape rebar with your hands.
Yeah.
And so every shape is me like looking at the drawing, bending the rebar on the ground, holding it, and then just being like, okay, weld that from there to there. Because I don't weld. I want to learn how to weld so I can do it myself, but we had an incredible welder come help us for 3 days. And I would just tell him, was directing the whole ship. I was just like, there to there. Okay, that's going to be that piece of this finger, there to there. Then I'm like taking the smaller metals, building them in rings, hooking them together. Okay, all these are going to be wrapped around that. Then we're going to connect it all. And it slowly took shape.
Yeah.
But trying to get the dimensions right with no references except a drawing was wild.
To make sure that it stays in scale.
Yeah. You literally, because I'm like trying to get the scale of the wraparound of a hand. And I honestly, I don't know if I could. I mean, I want to do it again, but it scares me.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's cool. I mean, those are the things that we talked about earlier. Those are the things that make you have some growth. And it's just a process that you went through and your mind thought out of how am I going to accomplish this? You know, and it's something you've never done before. And so it breaks the mold.
Yeah. No, I feel like you probably experience this too. You know, I feel like every artist at a certain point does. You say you can do something.
Every time.
And then there you are standing in the empty warehouse with nothing but your, whatever you have. You and your brain, and everyone's looking at you and thinking that you know exactly what you're going to do. And you're just, I'm not even thinking. I literally wasn't even thinking about any. I was just like, yeah, that's going to go there. That's going to go there. That's okay. Yeah. Then the arm's going to touch the ceiling and drop down to the other side. It's going to turn. Like, what? Like, honestly, like I'd get home or not home, but in my hotel, just covered in plaster, like 4 a.m. My friend was staying with me and he'd be in bed because we had 2 beds. And I would just sit on the bed and just rocked. Just having no idea how I did that day. Then the next day, no idea the next day.
How long did it take?
A week or so.
Okay.
A week or 8 days.
Nice.
I thought it was going to take 5 days because I didn't know it was going to be this big. But it ended up being like a week or 8 days.
You know, it's funny. You talk about the engineering behind the way that you're building stuff, right? You know, even the stuff that I do, everybody's like, oh, I can, how did you do that? And I'm like, well, I went to art school. I had learned Photoshop. In my mind, the process of building an image was through Photoshop.
Gotcha. Oh,
so
cool.
now
That's
the process
that's a nice way to break it down.
So in the process of how I start to stack this and build these layers up is Photoshop, right?
Yeah.
I graduated with a 3D animation degree, and so as
I could have used your help
as I go through
it, we had met last year.
Yeah. But as you think of how your brain's working, right? I see your sketches. Your sketches are drawing things in shape, right? They're drawing things in volume, right?
Yes.
They're not. You're wireframing basically the shape of what you're doing out of that. So I can see that in your sketches.
Thanks.
And I can see how that translates to what you're doing for the infrastructure of this frame. And it's really cool to see, you know, everyone thinks of an artist as like someone who's doing paper mache and they don't know how it's going to go, but the infrastructure and the build and what goes into it.
I mean, gosh, going from like my sister asking me to build her a replica bench from Urban Outfitters and her sitting on it and it broke to building this and it actually is staying. I've grown a lot as an artist.
And so getting getting to Gallery DeFi, first big step in your art career.
Yeah, no, this has been incredible. Very thankful for my friends who connected me with Travis and Kyle and the boys. This is a beautiful place. And them allowing me to do this is just, I couldn't believe it. I literally had no idea, until I was here. I was like, we are going for it. Like, this is it, and then to see your work and everyone else's work here. I know Risk Rock. I know him back in LA. It's so cool. Like, it's beautiful. Everyone's work is so beautiful.
Yeah, they got a pretty good collection of artists in here. I'm pretty humbled myself to be a part of it, And so everyone has that same, view as they go through this. I'm sure, Risk is the same way of like, man, look around at everyone they brought together. I'm happy to be a part of this,
Yeah, and I got to see it, I'm sure as you did too, before things were in here. Literally, they were building the walls when I was here. So to see it all come together and to see this place has a lot of color and a lot of energy. But I was telling Travis this morning, I was like, somehow it all actually works together. I don't know how, but it's really good. It feels good. I like it,
And the funny thing is the people that they chose to bring in here all have a common vibe.
Yeah.
They're good people. The artists are not just talented, but they all have really good energy and they're all of humble nature, that they bring through. And it's really proud to be a part of something like that because that also reflects you.
Yeah. And them, I feel like their energy is great. Like as soon as I met the guys, I was like, oh, this is going to be great.
Yeah.
And then because Travis, he literally built this with me. I was directing the process, but he was hands-on, every day. Every time I was here, he was here.
Yeah.
I was Home Depot runs, going to other places because they were out of plaster, because we bought all of the plaster.
We bought all the plaster.
Literally calling any plaster place because we're like, we need more plaster.
I don't have time for the restock.
Yeah, everything. Getting, just everything we needed. He was always never thought first. Maybe in his head he did, but never told me that he was like, I don't know if this is going to work.
Yeah.
And we were going. He went as hard as I did on this project, and very, very thankful to have had him helping me, with this, because it gave me confidence that we were going to actually complete it. I think I've made friends from this gallery that I actually haven't met in person, just from Instagram, because we're all like, oh, you're in Gallery DeFi. Oh, sick, me too. And people that I've known, like Gregory, I've known of his work for a really long time. So to be in the same place as them is pretty cool.
Yeah. Your next stop tonight is the meet and greet.
Yeah, tonight.
That's gonna be really cool. When people come in here and they start to talk to you about life and everything else, what's the one thing that you're most excited to talk to people about as they engage with your artwork? Like, what expressive thing are you trying to say to them? Like, this means X to me because of, I'm trying to say what?
Right. It's hard for me to say that because throughout having different showings and doing different galleries and things like that, I find that everyone sees it differently. I think it's always in the same realm of what I'm saying, but it's always a bit different to each person. Someone put it the best. I was doing an interview for art and they were looking at, because this one gallery is doing a book on my stuff and I had to explain every single piece. It was crazy. And he was like, I think your work, I feel like your workers, they're prompts for emotions. And I was like, that is a really great way to describe that. They're like prompts, like they set you up to see yourself in a different light. And I think for me, that's how I feel. Like drawing is, sometimes I'll look back and feel extremely emotional, just like as I'm sitting there, just like looking at it, just taking it in. Because the way the bodies bend, the way the curvature of everything and the stress in the hands or the pressure in the lines. Like that is kind of how I'm like drawing it. So I think it naturally, like you feel it when you like are looking at it. But everyone takes that differently. You know, some people are like scared, you know, which is, but then I'm like, I actually had a lady at the showing I had end of last year. She's like, they kind of scare me. And I was like, well, is that because you're afraid of what it's bringing out of you? You know, are you afraid of what it's, you know, telling you?
Yeah.
You know, I feel like that might be the scary thing. You know, so I've had that run in a few times, which I think is powerful. You know, I think that's art should move you. You know, that's why it's art and not just decor. You know, I think those are different things. I like them both.
Yeah, that's crazy because I look at your stuff, you know, and it does feel very emotional. And I think to see hands don't generally portray emotion to me in general, right? But I see yours and I see age and I see time and I see experience.
Nice.
Like even like the joints being a little bit oversized.
Yeah.
Right?
I play with all the anatomy.
Yeah. And so those joints being oversized is something that really has someone that's had a lot of life on them.
Right.
You know, and generally your joints get a little bit bigger as you get older, right? And so you don't see things as sleek and geometrical and whatever, but these are more organic looking. Yeah. It's almost roots. You know?
Yeah. I've heard that too. Like it feels like roots from like a tree. I think hands for me, the reason why I think they are expressive is because I could be smiling, like just hanging out, but I could have my hands in a fist, like down here or in my pocket. You know, I was told one time when I was driving, I'd have my hand in a fist. And my friend was like, you all right? And I was like, yeah. They're like, listen here. I was like, oh, I didn't even realize
Relax.
it. Didn't even realize it. I probably was stressed, you know, but I didn't even realize it.
Right.
So I think hands they are this thing that shows they're more telling than the face and what you're saying. Because you don't think about, or your shoulders, you know, your shoulders are always like his shoulders are up and you know, that's, you know, people always like, oh, relax, you know? So I think that those body parts are extremely expressive. They just don't tell you exactly what it is. Yeah. But I like that because it allows you to figure out what that means for you, you know?
It's crazy because you've taken a journey into something that's not traditionally done that way, and now you've made it more expressive.
Right. True. True.
It's really
Usually
cool.
People try to avoid the hands.
Everyone tries
I'm not drawing hands or feet. You know? Not trying feet. I can't draw feet, but give me hands.
Yeah. It's so funny because people will stay away from things that they're scared of, you know, like that, you know, but, you know, pushing through and kind of making it this organic nature. I mean, that's super cool that you've taken a different approach to it.
Thanks.
You know? It does have a lot of emotion to it. You can see through some of the veiny nature that goes through. And it's not it's vascular. It's more like cracks in time.
Right. Yeah. I agree. And I love, like, for a while, I haven't done a piece like that in a while, but the background of that is also ball playing. That's all ballpoint pen. All right. Everything. Yeah.
That took some time.
Yeah. I used to do them all like that. And then all the white on that's white out.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
You know, it's so funny. I had an illustrator guy that I used to do a lot of sketches or whatever, and I tried to go really fast. And sometimes you couldn't tell what was going on, but as long as you get the concept there, you can really try to push your idea. It's all about putting your idea out for a concept to pitch it, right?
Right.
So I did a lot of ballpoint pen stuff, and the faster and faster and faster and faster and faster you can reproduce these, the more concepts you get out of your brain. And I was told as long as I can understand what it says is all that matters because I just need to pitch it. But I found out that it was faster for me to get that through and push that through to somebody else for them to understand it when I started using whiteout. Wow. Because some of those sketches that I would have, because I draw kind of like you do when it comes to like dimension. I'll sketch it in shapes and circles.
To get the curvature of the skin.
You form it. You know, it's like, I feel like a lot of people draw the outside, you know, right. But I try to build it. You know, I try to feel like it's almost like, I don't know, like that squirt foam or whatever. And I'm just feel like you're building it into it. So you're taking away, it's building its little thing, right? So,
I like that. Yeah.
But a lot of those little sketches and those line work that I would put in that, would become noise to people and cause them not to be able to see what I was doing.
Right.
But the whiteout,
the absent space kind of tells you like, this is what it is.
Yeah.
No, I agree. Even for me, when I'm drawing it, like I get confused. I'm like, I'm like looking too close. And then I start adding the background and like filling the in between. I'm like, oh, there it is. Okay, it works. Thank God.
Yeah.
You know,
it's a little bit of peace that comes with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You have to have that balance.
Yeah.
In the beginning, my drawings were all just crazy. And I think it was a little too chaotic. Honestly, people were just like, I don't know how to understand this.
Can't process.
I can't process it as myself. I'm like, this is just wild, but you got to, slow down.
Going forward with you and your art, are you looking more for sculpture? Are you looking more for print? Or are you looking for another medium? Like, what are you trying to do?
I want to keep drawing because I love drawing. I want to keep making sculptures. I think those things can keep going. But I've been exploring with oil paints. Like I haven't even told anybody in an interview setting this first time. And it's been really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I haven't painted in years. And when I did, I painted with acrylic. So to get into oils has been pretty natural. Like I really like what I'm doing. It will evolve as it does. But even as my first 3 paintings that I've done recently, I'm pretty happy with the style and the energy and coloring and what it's emoting. They're not just they're they feel like something. Because that's the biggest thing. Like for me, it's got to feel like something. If it doesn't give you something to latch onto emotionally, then I probably will just do something else.
Are you bringing a lot of color to this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so you're going back to the street days.
Yeah, but it's refined.
Okay.
It's very refined. I'm taking my time. I'm not. I'm sitting with a piece for weeks and or longer and just really figuring it out, moving things around because it's oil. Yeah, it's very refined, and right now everything is blended hardcore blending. I'm going crazy, maybe too much blending, honestly. I might want a little more texture, and the color scheme just keeps happening in the same way for some reason because I'm just using primary colors to make my own colors, which is I feel like a good way for me to start. Actually getting back into it because I don't want to just go to the store and buy the colors that I'm I want that color. I want to really make my own,
Yep.
And so the colors keep looking in the same world, which I naturally just doing, which I like.
What is that? Is that a muted color set? Is that where are we at?
It keeps going into a very pastel skin tone orange, pastel-y kind of dark, or not a
soft
pastel.
Colors.
Yeah, everything's soft. Even the deep red is kind of soft, but it's in that orange, red, yellow skin tone.
Mixing with a lot of white.
Yeah,
Okay.
a lot of white. Yeah, keeping it soft.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
it's been fun. I have to remind myself that I can't make the pieces like I make the drawings. Just want to make the drawings, no references. I'm just ripping, turning the paper, ripping more, turning the paper, looking at it. Oh, that looks, yeah. Feeling it out, This I have to sit down, slow down, dude. Just make all the colors, make all the gradients of the colors you want to use. Because going back and doing that again is going to be annoying, take it easy, I
was going to say, because this feels, your illustration style right now feels very, I don't want to say chaotic, but chaotic.
Oh, it is.
Right?
It is. Yeah, that's how I did. It's, I feel at peace when I'm doing it because it's very soothing, very peaceful for me. But it definitely gets out. I need to do that,
It feels very emotional, very driven, very.
Yeah, I think David Lynch, he's one of my favorite artists just in general and everything he does, painting, movies. He was always talks about having a space. Setting a space to do your work, whatever it is, having a space. Even if it's just a desk in a corner or something that's the space for that. And I really think that is true. So in my studio, when I go to work, I always try to set the tone of the space,
Mm-hmm.
the right music, have a little drink, like really
Mm-hmm.
sit there and really do it,
Mm-hmm.
like fully,
Mm-hmm.
because the work probably won't be as good if I don't,
Mm-hmm.
because it is emotionally based.
Yeah.
Like that, I'm not just looking at a picture and drawing that, which is great. But for me, I need to make that form. I don't know what I'm going to make. So I have to like get into the zone to like do it.
When you said music's big for you.
Yeah.
When you're picking this type of music that goes with this, I'm thinking like Tool, or I'm thinking something like, what's
it's
the
a lot of
energy behind it?
Radiohead, a lot of Jeff Buckley,
Okay.
a lot of Bon Iver, Novo More, down tempo music usually.
Okay.
Yeah, down tempo, just like something to get you in the feels. You
Okay.
know, something that's gonna make you like think about
You
your
have
life.
calm music and high energy illustration.
Yeah, because for me, it's like it just whatever makes me feel like puts me in that emotional state,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just how it comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not listening to like heavy metal. I mean, I love heavy metal music,
Yeah.
but I'm not like that's not for me. It's this is like a very soothing experience. Like it's almost like meditative. Like,
Yeah.
and that's just how that's what needs to get out. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like that's why I talk like the process is like my favorite part.
Mm-hmm.
Like I love a day when I'm just like, I'm not going to do anything else other than just stay in my studio all day. And this is what I'm doing.
That's crazy. I mean, I think that's amazing. I want to do that too. Like that is the end goal. I'm still wrapped around this point of you listening to a counter styled music from the illustration style, which feels very high energy, to something that is, I'm just thinking like lo-fi or something that you're listening to.
Yeah.
On the other
I mean,
side.
it's just like, it's kind of sad music, honestly.
Yeah,
Just like
yeah, I
sad
feel
stuff.
that.
Like even the Radiohead stuff is like their slow songs,
Mhm.
Yeah. High and Dry, Plastic Trees, like just, or Fake Plastic Trees, just all that, like even some slow Smashing Pumpkin songs,
Mhm.
Mayonnaise, Today, like stuff like that,
yeah.
and then more indie as
Mhm.
well. Just anything that makes me just feel those emotional points in myself that
So-
need to like get
Come
out.
out. Are you switching the music genre when you start to go to oil painting? Because that's you're going a different route, right?
No, I actually have. I mean, I still do those playlists for sure. That's my go-to art playlisting is like the slow kind of emotional based. That is the go-to.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes when I'm painting, I'm like, I can put on a little groovy playlist and like I could, have some fun with it for sure. Cause I know what I'm going to make, you know.
Mm-hmm.
This is just so much off the cuff that it's like with acting, like if I'm going to do a scene, I'm not going to like, if I'm going to have to be sad in a scene, I'm not going to be over here listening to like, Sabrina Carpenter, listen to Katy Perry or something, like party music and then go be sad in the scene. I would probably, if I'm going to listen to music, it's going to be something like that gets me in a space to where I can emote those certain feelings.
That's crazy. I just put the two and two together.
So I've taken the same technique for art.
This is really cool. So you, for the high energy stuff, you don't mind the music being in the same room with you, and you don't mind it being your friend and taking the journey with you, but you don't want it to disrupt you.
No, it's got to help me get there.
And for the other one, because the process is such slower and you've already got it plotted out, and
I can have fun with it.
Yeah, come join. We can have a discussion in the middle of this thing the entire time.
Yeah, because I already know what I'm going to do,
Yeah, very
but
cool.
when I don't know what I'm going to do and it is just off the cuff, I have to fully engulf myself in the energy that I want to do it. Because if not, how do I get there?
Yeah, I got it. I needed that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I had to flesh it out.
Together.
I had to flesh it out there. So the next thing, tonight we're going to do the meet and greet, it's going to show up here in a little bit, and so we're going to, have everybody with their posters and their selfies and so everything. So
it'll be fun.
I'm super excited, man.
I love sharing my work. I love talking about it, as artists, like we spend so much time alone.
Yeah.
doing this,
Mhm.
you know? So to be able to share it, I think is such a beautiful part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you always want people to really actually
Mhm.
get it and understand it. And so to hear their thoughts and,
Mhm.
you know, you probably hear some where you're like, that's not it. But
Yeah.
you might hear a lot where you're like, that is exactly it. You know,
Yeah.
and that is like, oh, you're saying it.
Yes. For me, where I'm going with that is that I find, and I wanted to see if you were the same way, but I find for myself, are you an introvert or are you truly an extrovert when it comes to these things? Because when I go pitch these, I find myself being drained of energy when I leave. It takes me into a different spot where it takes a lot from me.
Yeah, it depends. It depends. Because I've been like doing events, like social events for like 15 years, I guess now, you know, with all the movies and things like that and music. And there are certain, like my band, I'm in a band and we just played a concert in LA at the Roxy. And after we played, I hung out for a bit, but then I was like, I gotta go.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I gotta go. And even when we all went out to celebrate, and I was took me like an hour and a half to like actually be able to celebrate because I'm just so like thinking about everything still and drained from what we just did.
Mm-hmm.
Usually after every art show that I've had in LA, I usually go home to my house and I only invite my few friends that are close to me and we just like sit on my couch and watch Netflix, or we usually watch like live videos of bands.
Yeah.
And, you know, just hang.
Yeah.
Because it's so dang draining sometimes. Tonight I think will be really fun. I think it'll be a little more light just because there's so much else to look at and talk about. And I'm just happy to be here. I'm only here for one night. So I'm happy to hang with the guys and everyone. But I agree. Like for most of my art shows that I've done, because there's so much talking and everyone's coming to you with their stories about how it makes them feel, which I love.
Yeah, it's great.
But you're kind of like doing a little therapy session,
Yes,
you know, for everybody.
Right. Yes.
Which is great that they're feeling that. But usually I will just go home and invite my close friends to my house and we just watch Netflix or YouTube and have some drinks and hang. You know.
What type of what shows are you following on Netflix right now, or any series?
The Last Kingdom.
The Last Kingdom.
Have you seen that show?
I haven't seen it.
Oh, it's great.
That's it.
Destiny is all.
Yeah, we're watching The Last of Us right now.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Oh man,
Heard it's awesome.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Sick.
Mobland, that one's a good one.
That's a new show.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't watch a lot of TV shows. I mean, I love Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah.
And then The Last Kingdom is like Game of Thrones, but different. It's more about like honor and like more grounded. So they're both fantastic in their own right. I love Twin Peaks. David Lynch. I love him. And I also love reality shows. I'll be honest. Because I feel like I do this is intense work.
Yeah.
You know, it's intense. You're like, you know, or I'm like working on a script.
Yeah.
And while I'm cooking dinner, I will put on Love Is Blind.
Oh man,
or The Bachelor.
I can't do it. Those I don't want to subscribe to somebody else's drama. I'm just like you want to get me in the what's the one like Alone or something like that.
Those are cool too.
They're great.
But that's too stressful.
Yeah.
For me, I'm like looking at, and me and my best friend, we have this thing where it's so ridiculous. We watch The Bachelor together. We just got addicted to it. And it just became our oh God. I can't, it's not even horrible that I say this out loud, but we love it. But we get so invested. We're like pausing it and we're like talking about, so what do you think that you're going to do? Like, oh, he's so wrong, blah, blah, blah. Talking about why did he do that? Okay, play. You know, but it's kind of our thing we do.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I used to be so against reality shows. I only watch good movies and good TV shows, and I still do. But I've also realized that there's value in turning off your brain.
Yeah, 100%.
And sitting back.
Just watching something that doesn't even matter.
Just laughing.
Yeah.
And then getting a little invested. You're like, oh my God, what is going to happen? You know? It's fun. It's fun.
Well, that's not one thing that I expect you to say was The Bachelor was your jam, but
no one does. Whenever I whip that out, everyone's like, what? I'm like, I am 100% serious. I'm not even saying this to get a like what out of you.
Yeah.
No, this is, me and my friend are actually not trying to go on the show, but they have these like events that they'll do in the show where there's like crowds of people. And I want to message him being like, can me and my friend be in the crowd? Just so we can see us like, We are there. We are
There we are. We're in it.
We did it. We did it.
We became part of culture here.
Yeah. But it's ridiculous.
So you said you mix a drink or whatever. Like what if you have an opportunity between a seltzer or a wine, whiskey or whiskey. Well, okay,
all the way.
Here we go.
Yeah,
we're drinking bourbon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I love whiskey.
Okay.
It's my
What's your go-to right now?
Go-to? Ooh, I really like I like the small batch of Four Roses.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
I like that. I like Buffalo Trace.
Well, you're in my wheelhouse right now.
I feel like that's just a solid. It's not too expensive.
Yeah. It's got a little spice to it.
Yeah, I think it's delicious.
Mm-hmm.
The Japanese whiskeys.
Hibiki.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's starts with an N. There's one Nik. Can't think of the name, but I have the bottle at home. I got it for my birthday. Yeah, it's to the point where if people are like, "Oh, try this bottle of whiskey," I love it. I used to subscribe to a thing where they quarterly would send you tastings, just because I love trying whiskey. I love it.
Is it you on the rocks guy? You straight? Are you neat?
Usually
okay.
neat. Yeah. I just that's probably just from me being lazy at my house, but I've grown to really like it.
Yeah, room temperature.
Yeah, just like pour it, boom, ready to go.
There it is.
And you sip it slow. I feel like it's a bit slower. It's nice.
Yeah.
But I love whiskey sours. My favorite.
That's great.
Drink of all time.
Yeah.
Old fashioned also.
Yeah.
Pretty dang good.
Oh, that's it. Well, I'll tell you this. Like, I had no idea when we sat down to have this conversation that I was going to be enlightened on a few things. But
me too.
Honestly, man, like this has been a really great conversation. I've had such a good time.
Same.
And I appreciate you being a part of this. And
dude, thanks for being here and showing up today. And happy to talk about art and life and share some lessons of what to do and what not to do.
100%. Well, everybody, until next time, this is The Blueprint. Peace out.